Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group meeting. Give us a thumbs up in the window if you can hear me. If you can hear me, okay. Good. All right. Welcome. It's June 10th, 2022. Our agenda this morning, we'll start out with success stories. We'll then have everybody put their 30-second introductions into the chat window for those that are watching on Zoom or Facebook. We'll then go to our committee reports. We'll hear about workshops, job fairs, the practice interview team, the interview success workshop, and the career tip of the week. And then we will have our main event, the job search scorecard. For those on Zoom, if you have any questions throughout the presentation, please just open up the chat window and put in any questions you have, and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. For those on Facebook, please just enter your questions in the comment field. We are monitoring that feed, and we'll be sure to get those questions answered for you. Please note, this event is being recorded and is currently live on Facebook. The recording will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel for others to view in the future. By participating in this event, you give consent for your name and picture to appear. Please note that any comments you put in the Zoom chat window will not appear in the recording. Well, good morning, everybody. My name is Jeff Morris. This group's been around since the late 1990s, but since 2007, I took over when the prior person who was leading the group got a job and said, who wanted to take over? I think I scratched my face. He said, okay, Jeff, you're it. So I've been facilitating and leading the group since that time. In 2008, I started a website called careerdfw.org, a website to help those who are unemployed in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. In 2012, I launched a second website, careerusa.org, to help those around the United States. I have written a book called What I've Learned About Your Job Search That You May Not Know. It is available on Amazon. And since 2017, I've been a member of the practice interview team, and you'll hear more about that in just a moment. Well, we like to start the meeting off with good news, success stories. I didn't get any emails this week, but anybody out there, do we have any landings? Going once, going twice? Okay, I guess we won't eat any donuts today. All right. All right, what we need everybody to do now, if you will, for those on Zoom, please put in the chat window your name, comma, phone number, comma, email address, position you're looking for, comma, 2 or 3 target companies, and then hit the return key. And I will put out an email this afternoon with all this information. And we ask that you please check with other people, look over the list this afternoon and see who you know and see if you're able to help somebody network their way in. We've got 3 people here that are actually watching us live today in the room. Yay, welcome. And they filled out a little slip of paper, and I'll get that information added to the list that's going on here. So for those people on Facebook, if you want to put your personal information in the comment field, I will go and delete it immediately after the meeting, so it won't hang out there forever and ever. So we'll give everybody 30 seconds on the clock. Oops. Just add the one from England, the crazy, that one. All righty. If you're still typing in, please go ahead. Also, please note that by putting your information in here, I will update the roster and I will count you as being here. So if you're using this as something for workforce, as a job for the workforce office, please put that information in if it's just to make sure we get you in there. Okay. All right, it's time to hear about job, career fairs, training, and workshops that are going on. Good morning, Eldon.
Good morning, Jeff, and happy Friday to everybody. As Jeff has indicated, I'm here to tell you today about career and job fairs and special workshops or events that are coming up this week in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I get this information from the calendar tab on the website careerdfw.org, which is on the screen in front of you. The various colored boxes indicate different topical events that are occurring throughout the weeks and months, and I urge you to explore the calendar to find out what is on it. I go through these things very quickly. So if you hear something that catches your ear, I urge you to go to that event on the calendar, click on it, and there you will usually find more information and or links telling you how to register and participate. Having said that, this week's career and job fairs. The Dallas Career Fair by Choice Career Fairs will be held Thursday, June 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. There's a link for more information to find out about that event. Again, that's Thursday, June 16th from 11 a.m. to 2 p.m. This week's upcoming special workshops or events, the Learn How to Use Microsoft Word workshop will be held Monday, June 13th through Friday, June 18th, or excuse me, I guess 17th rather. And it'll be held from noon to 1:30 p.m. There's a link to find out how to participate in that. This is offered by Jewish Family Services of Dallas and taught by Philip Konecki, who's a trainer and career coach. There'll be a resume workshop at the Senior Source on Monday, June 13th from 12:30 p.m. to 2 p.m. at the Senior Source, which is located at 3910 Harry Hines Boulevard in Dallas. And there is a link to find out more about that. Online, LinkedIn Tuesdays at 1 p.m. Join Locke Alderson, Terry Sullivan, Ruth Lipsky, Kurt Vondemutter, or our own Jeff Morris each week for an online session on LinkedIn. This week's session, the June 14th session, will be put on by Terry Sullivan. And if you've never heard Terry Sullivan talk about LinkedIn and how to use it as a brand marketing tool, I urge you to attend that. Again, that's Tuesday, June 14th from 1 to 2:30 p.m. Again, online interviewing Wednesdays at 1 p.m., a new thing for this year. Wednesday, June 15th from 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m., you can observe a practice interview from the pit crew. And there is a Zoom link to participate in that event. And finally, there'll be an online seminar on effective resumes that'll be held June 16th from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Join us each month on the first and third Thursdays for their effective resume seminar. This week, I have that the speaker is TBA. So, Jeff, if you know more about that.
Will be our speaker this week. Locke Alderson.
Oh, Locke is going to be speaking. Okay, because I looked at the calendar. It had names every other date but that one. And there's a Zoom link and a Facebook link to participate in that. And that's in it for this week. And if you will indulge me, I have some comments I would like to make. I'd like to announce that I've decided, effective today, to step down from my weekly duties. I want to thank Jeff Morris for affording me the opportunity to pay it forward these past several years as a volunteer for this very important organization. It was my great pleasure to be of service and to help advise where I could. I also want to thank Jeff for continuing to do such great work for the community. I've known him a long time, and I can say unequivocally that his dedication and hard work are inspiring. I was very fortunate this group was here for me when I was struggling to find new opportunities. I utilized online information on topics that detail requirements for successful job searches and career transitions, many of which I wasn't aware of. The weekly meetings provided me with access to the advice and wisdom of a variety of talented and highly experienced subject matter experts, business and industry leaders, career coaches, and recruiters, all of whom helped me further refine my capabilities and ultimately provided me with an important competitive edge. Finally, I took advantage of the opportunity to participate in practice interviews and meet and network with other technical and business professionals in circumstances similar to mine. These interactions were extremely valuable in helping me land 2 new career opportunities after completing a 30-year career with Texas Instruments. I urge everyone to take advantage of everything that this organization, the pit crew, Walt Glass, and others have to offer. I also urge everyone who lands and everyone listening today will land to stay connected and stay involved. Pay it forward and try to help one person every day. The rewards of doing so are incredible. Jeff, keep up the great work that you're doing. Good luck and best wishes to all of those seeking new opportunities. May you land very soon. Thank you.
Eldon, thank you. Eldon, thank you very much. All right, if you know somebody who's unemployed, been recently unemployed, somebody's been unemployed for a long time, please let them know about Career DFW and Career USA, 2 totally free websites just there to help you in your job search. All right, it's time to hear about the practice interview team. Mark McDonald can't be with us today. I don't think nope, I don't see him online. So let me just tell you a little bit about the practice interview team. Number one, it's totally free. So if you want a practice interview, you should sign up. Their motto is practice early, practice often. And if you're interested in signing up for a practice interview, just go to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com. What you want to do is you want to send in your resume and a job description. Now, I don't recommend you wait until you have an interview to do it because sometimes we don't have enough time to schedule you. So just find that job description online and you go, that would be a perfect job for me. It doesn't matter where it's at. Send that job description in, send in your resume, and let them know that you're just practicing, you found something online, and they will schedule an interview with you. It usually has 2 or 3 people will be doing the interview. It's always a team interview, so there'll be 2 or 3 people interviewing you. It lasts about 45 or 50 minutes. And then after that, there'll be about 15 or 20 minutes of debriefing and you know, telling you the good, the bad, the ugly about what happened. You know, their motto is practice early, practice often. I think the number one, the candidate who's done it the most time did it 9 different times, but he did get his dream job out at LTV. He wanted to go build or work at the aircraft factory. So, you know, he practiced and practiced and practiced. It usually takes 3 or 4 times before you really get comfortable doing this. So it's totally free. They do interviews every Tuesday at 5 o'clock, Wednesday at 1 o'clock, and Thursday at 3 p.m. So if you're interested, sign up. It's definitely worthwhile. One of the other things that Pit Crew offers is a one-way interview. So if you'd like to just sign up, you can be able to do a one-way interview, meaning that there's nobody at the other end. The computer will ask you a question. You have 3 minutes to answer it, and you don't get to, you know, in this particular case, the one the Pit Crew does, you're not able to redo your answer. But there are other, you know, some of these one-way interviews, you can keep recording your answer until you're ready to go. So if you'd like to practice that, please, please, please reach out to the Dallas Pit Crew. You can also reach out to Walt Glass, and you can also reach out to me. We all have a little bit different. We've got the same program, but it's all set up a little bit differently the way we set those up. If you want to reach out to Mark McDonald, you're welcome to connect with him on LinkedIn. Just be sure to send him a personal note. Tell him you missed him here at the Friday meeting. And just by doing so, he'll be able to do that. Mark also, if you need coaching on why did you leave your last job, or if you had a job that, you know, was a strange ending and you weren't sure how to answer that, he does one-on-one coaching. That's the one thing he coaches on. So if you'd like to have practice with that, and if you've been a hiring manager in the past, he would love to add you to the practice interview team interviewers. He's got about a group of about 30 people right now. He's had 5 or 6 people land in the last several months. So he's always looking to add new people to be on the interview panel. So if you're interested, please just reach out to dallaspitcrew@gmail.com and let Mark know you'd like to do that. There was a question in the chat window, are these panel interviews? Yes, the Pit Crew does offer, all the interviews are panel interviews. There's always either 2 or 3 people doing the interview with you. And at this point, they're all currently via Zoom. At some point, hopefully the Wednesday session will become live right here back at Christ United Methodist Church. We're going to hopefully start that up in the next month or 2. All right, good morning, Walt. Tell us about the Interview Success Workshop.
Before I start with that, thank you, Eldon, for years of consistent, very complimentary service to job search and job seekers. Thank you so much for all of your contributions. So what do I do? Well, I also help you with gaining confidence and skills for successful job interviews. And I do this through the Interview Success Workshop. So the question is, what do you need to do to really prepare for an interview? What is it are you really selling in an interview? Everyone says ourselves, and when I ask them to define that, there's a long pause. So back in 1999, after being downsized, after 25 years of service, I did an interview and I bombed it, just flat bombed it. So I really put a lot of effort into just exactly what is candidate interviewing all about. I switched from the side of the desk of teaching leaders how to hire people, teaching the behavioral event interviewing, the star story stuff, and all that sort of thing, to being in the candidate role. So I developed a model called the I am, I do, I help. We sell who we are, what we do, and how we can help. I see a lot of I do's in interviews. I've done this, I do this, I do this. We need to sell our personality, our soft skills, our characteristics. We still need to sell our activities and what we do and our knowledge and our hard skills. We also have to sell our help, which is rarely done in an interview. What's the value that I bring to this organization? If you look at sales in itself, every time there's a salesperson finding a customer, a potential client or customer, they're always looking to see what are your needs, what's going on, what are your problems, what are your issues, and let me show you what product or service that I have that can help you achieve and resolve those and help you grow and go through the business. But in an interview, I don't see anybody really checking to see just exactly what is it you want out of me? What achievements do you want? So how do we do that in an interview? And so I built this interview success workshop to be very informal. It's about 60, 70% learning and 30% interviewing. It covers basic categories of questions. What are the motives behind those questions? There's a reason for every question based on the question, who's asking, and where you are in the process to help us to figure out what our appropriate response might be. We'll discuss options, strategies, structures, ways we might approach the answer to these questions and their motives. So it's really the fundamentals of interviewing. So I like to have a good time while we're doing it. I don't like to have stress and anxiety and all that sort of thing as we go through it. So I do it 1 or 2 people at a time. It's on Zoom. Look me up on LinkedIn. And inside of that LinkedIn, you see it there on the screen. Jeff's added a QR code, and it just starts an email to my Yahoo email address saying I'd like to request registration for the workshop. So my About section gives you a little bit more details. Be glad to have you sign up, register. You can also call me if you want to get some more information about it. But the main idea is to help us prepare and practice for an interview. It's called Learning Without Squirming. Does interviewing go round and round as your job search goes up and down? Well, let me get a bit terse. Sign up, rehearse. Every practice, you get better, not worse.
Thank you very much, Walt. All right, it's time for the career tip of the career tip of the week. You can check it out on Career DFW and Career USA each week. Rosanna had a really tough job this week because it is really long. So she's going to cut it down into something, and so we'll hear what she has. Good morning, Rosanna.
Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Jeff. Well, I don't know about cutting it down, but I'll do my best. All right, so this is a very interesting article, and I just definitely want to read it as quick as possible, but pay close attention because it introduces a lot of things that people may not have even thought about. All right, so this week's career tip of the week is dated June the 5th, and it is the rise of the automated video interview. Companies are embracing automated video interviews to filter through floods of applicants, but interviews with a computer screen raise big ethical questions and might scare off candidates. Applying for a job these days is starting to feel like online dating. Job seekers send their resume into a portal after a portal and basically into a silent abyss and wait. That's what's waiting on the other side. That abyss is silent for a reason, and it has little to do with the still tight job market or the quality of a particular resume. On the other side of that portal, hiring managers watch hundreds of thousands of resumes pile up. It's an infinite mountain of digital profiles, most of them from people completely unqualified. Going through all of them would virtually be a fruitless task. Enter the Tinders of corporate America. These services are the ones that made it so easy for anyone to apply for a job on the internet. But just like online dating, once the entire world is available for a match, you need to introduce some kind of filter to figure out who should be interviewed first. Most large companies use software to sort through resumes and cover letters, identifying likely candidates based on keywords, professed qualifications, or even just where they went to college. But these services have taken their product a step further. Now, when some companies ranging from major financial institutions like JP Morgan to food prep and retail, when those companies invite someone for an interview, they have no intention of showing up for the interview themselves. Instead, these corporate tenders give people an automated video interview, guiding the candidate through a conversation with their computer screen. The applicant stares at the webcam distortion of their face, which tries to explain what the job, why they want the job, then once more sends the information back into the abyss, often without being able to review their video first. The software will then produce a report and likely a ranking that will be used to determine if they get an interview with an actual person. Automated resume and cover letter screenings is just not advanced enough in the world where remote work is increasingly common and remote job applications are easier than ever. For hiring departments, automated video interview software makes whittling down the hiring pool infinitely easier. As an added bonus, the companies that make the software sell themselves as scientific and less biased than the flawed humans who run actual HR departments. The market is so fruitful that there are nearly endless options with similar services. Among them are HireVue, ModernView, SparkView, MyInterview, Humanly.io, Willow, and Curious Thing. Entry-level college graduates in tech, banking, and even consulting almost always get funneled through these systems. In March of 2021, HireVue announced that its platform had hosted more than 20 million video interviews since its inception. But easy, frictionless processes like these have a catch. Most companies like to talk about hiring like they're finding the right fit specifically for their workplace. By relying on automated video interviews, they willingly introduce a third party, another company with its own goals, preferences, and biases, between themselves and their new hires. Someone or something else is making the initial decision that could make all the difference. Now, there's a pesky AI problem. All of these companies use AI buzzwords to sell their services and advertise their tools. Modern Hire calls the service an AI-powered automated interview creator. At HireVue, the words science-backed appear frequently on marketing materials, and a HireVue spokesperson told Protocol that its assessments are designed by psychologists with evidence-based approaches. Companies deploy machine learning in different ways. HireVue and ModernView use AI tools primarily to transcribe the interviews and then to evaluate and rank the interview text. Although the companies claim to reduce bias in hiring, the researchers and advocates who study AI bias are these companies' most frequent critics. They argue the most machine learning tools aren't properly audited or regulated and commonly recreate or enhance already existing biases. So opting to incorporate AI into the hiring system is knowingly making a choice to take that risk. The FTC warned companies against using algorithms that could be unfair or create adverse outcomes. Excuse me. In 2019, Epic filed a complaint with the FTC alleging that HireVue was engaging in unfair and deceptive practices that violated AI standards by using facial recognition AI tools in its video interview analysis. Then in 2021, HireVue removed the facial recognition tools from its system and concluded that for the significant majority of jobs and interviews, visual analysis has far less correlation to job performance than other elements of algorithmic assessment. And that's what the company wrote about their decision. So their decision was, we made the decision not to use visual analysis in our pre-hire algorithms going forward. We recommend and hope that the decision becomes an industry standard. Well, federal and state regulators have also started to propose legislation that would restrict how these algorithms are used and require independent audits. New York City passed a bill recently that would require bias audits for algorithms using hiring, and then Washington, D.C. proposed Stop Discrimination by Algorithms Act of 2021 would set a strict list of requirements for companies wanting to use algorithms in employment settings like the automated video interviews. An interesting statement. One of the companies said, "We only score by the way the words people say that are transcribed, not the way they sound or the way they look." That is a hard line that we draw and have always drawn. My mentality and our mentality as a company is that we should only be scoring information the candidates consciously provide to us. There are organizations that use this information, and I think it's wrong. I only give the express permission to use my responses. That's the right way that we need to proceed. For the system's critics, it's difficult to actually prove why someone has been filtered out of the system. What's particularly tricky about this, it's really hard to find people who have experienced an adverse outcome because of these systems, because you don't know. If I do a little 90-second or 60-second video of myself and I say, "Hi, I am a lawyer and I do tech stuff," I won't know if I don't get the job because I wasn't qualified, or if it was because the system made a call in a matter of seconds and now I'm subject to that system. The companies that actually make the systems argue that hiring already is such flawed and biased process that taking the actual interviewer out of the screening process actually makes it more fair. When people conduct unstructured interviews, they almost always hire the people they like, not necessarily the ones best qualified for the job. One striking example, a University of Texas study found that after its medical school had to accept students it had initially rejected based on interviews, the rejected students and the originally accepted ones had the same performance in the school. The hiring industry and the hiring process itself has long been broken. This is a challenge that our algorithms in modern science are suited to help solve, help make scientific sense of it. Which pieces about a candidate are predictive about the success on the job. We are humans. The way our brains process information is very biased. We are always looking for people who are similar to ourselves, and we weed out other people who might be different. There's a problem here that's getting ready to be addressed. So companies implement these systems because they have commercial and practical hiring needs they must meet. It's very difficult to them to go through a mass of applicants. They are indispensable. They couldn't cope without them. So with that said, the writer of the article says they don't see a way out. I think this is going to become a bigger and bigger phenomenon. Her research has found that most people who undergo these video interviews don't understand how the system works or what they're getting themselves into. And she urges employers to adopt a glass box approach where they provide as much transparency as possible about how interviews will be processed and screened. At the very least, candidates need to understand that software, not a person, will be analyzing the text of what they say to a webcam. She also recommends employers create their own simple systems for candidates where they can see what successful interviews look like and why, and that they provide feedback to people who are rejected about why and what they can do to improve. Without some of these changes, companies can run afoul of laws like the Americans with Disabilities Act. Federal regulators just released guidance in May that explains how the use of algorithms could violate the ADA. One of the key recommendations, applicants need to understand the system and have straightforward ways to ask for alternative interview methods if they have a disability that could interfere with how the algorithm assesses the interview. Smaller firms also need to consider whether the video interview might turn away potential candidates who see the system as offensive and develop easy alternative interview methods. One job applicant for a major media firm told Protocol that he immediately rescinded his application when the firm asked him to a modern hire interview. It's just the lack of transparency and the data and the laziness as well. It wouldn't be hard to just ask for a 20-minute chat. The person I actually want to talk to is the hiring manager, he said. Why do they feel their time is more valuable? And this was a relatively high up position. I can maybe understand using these systems for graduates where they are receiving thousands of applications. Maybe it's a good tool to filter out literally thousands, but even that is questionable in my opinion. The technology doesn't care about the human, so effectively it's very exploitive of the human. They are extracting what's of interest to the employer in a very narrow way, forgetting almost all of humanity. It's a very narrow way of judging, and there is no relationship that's built. Now, this article really highlighted a lot of different things that you may not have already been aware of, but as a bonus extra, if I can have just another minute of your time, I want to say what stood out to me was the statement by one of the video interview companies that said, we only score by the way the words people say that are transcribed, not the way they sound or the way they look. For me, that's an interesting statement because biases exist throughout the interview process. I use these technologies and I find they help hire faster, yet the biases do exist. Transcription software may not be able to account for an accent. In speaking with a disability coordinator the other day, she said a transcription software that they use that does voice to text kept writing the word tree when the person said 3. It was the person's accent. So I share this example because there's a potential for bias that exists throughout the entire interview process. The review of the resume and cover letters, if the correct wording isn't used when you're customizing your resume from the job ad, that could be introducing bias. During the video interview itself, as this article has now highlighted, during the hiring manager review of the video where an unconscious bias may appear when the hiring manager is reviewing your video and may have an unconscious bias to your voice or to something that they're paying attention to in your background. So all of this is happening all before you even get there in person. So my tip is if you receive a thanks but no thanks letter and feel you are strongly qualified and meet all posted requirements, go on LinkedIn to that company, find the recruiter or a recruiting manager, and ask for a courtesy review of your application. Don't just give up if you really want that job. So that's the career tip of the week. Have a blessed weekend.
That's probably the longest tip we've ever had in all these years of doing this. So thank you very much. And thank you for the extra comments that you added on at the very end, because I think those are really valuable. So it's a very interesting article. I know it was very, very long. You can check it out. It's on the Career DFW or Career USA YouTube channel. It'll be there on the website until tomorrow afternoon. And then every Saturday afternoon, there's a new tip that pops up. So thank you very much for reading that. All right, let's see here. All right, if you'd like to join us for lunch today, whoop, we're not going there. We're not going to Mama's Pizza. We're going to go to Country Burger. Sorry about that. We're going to go to Country Burger. So if you're interested in joining us at Country Burger today, it's about, well, for the people who are here, I'll mention it, but we've been there before. So if you're interested, please come join us at 12 o'clock. Just a reminder, the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group and the Career DFW are two separate organizations. The common thread is that I happen to lead both. They're totally separate. Career DFW is a 501c3. The only common thread is that since I'm here and I'm leading both groups, you're welcome to overthrow me here at any time if you want to take over doing the Friday meeting, but you're not going to get Career DFW out of my hands. Okay, well, this is not the right slide either. Holy cow. 3115 West Parker Road if you want to join us for lunch. All right, well, man, I really have got the wrong slides up here. Here we go. Let's see here. I really messed up here. Okay, well, I'm going to stop sharing here for just a second. Our speaker today is Dr. Glen Earl. He's going to talk about the job search scorecard. Glenn, I'll let Glenn tell you a little bit about his background when he gets up in a second, but Glenn lived in the DFW area for many years. He moved to the Great Northwest a couple years ago. And he actually was part of this group back in 2000. I don't know, I've seen him a couple times here. So Glenn, thank you for being with us and I'll let you take it over.
Thank you. Good day, everyone. Just want to double check that you can hear and see me all right.
We can. There we go.
All right, good. Okay, let me just tell you a little bit about myself. So my entire career has been in leadership and organizational development with various and sundry organizations. I lived in Dallas for 15 years and was actually where you're sitting 3 different times in those 15 years. So I've come to love this organization. It does great work, and on a personal level, it has helped me tremendously in my career. So you can look at some of the organizations I worked with. The biggest one and the longest one was when I worked at Parkland Hospital, doing leadership and organizational development there. Okay, next. So let me talk a little bit about the background of the job search scorecard. So I created this, a decade and a half ago for my own benefit. And basically it was, I wanted and needed to have some parameters, some boundaries about this job search. Because as you know, job search is mentally and physically and emotionally exhausting. And I wanted to put some, protective self-care measures in what I did. So I created this and I made a point system that you can do on a daily basis and a weekly basis. And I'll talk more about that as we move along. So basically why the point rationale. So the way that I set it up, after what I consider to be lengthy and exhaustive research, because I'm the one that did it, about how people actually land the job as opposed to the time it takes to complete an activity. Next. So some of the rationale is, whomever you believe, about 3 to 10% of jobs are found through an internet search, either through a job board like LinkedIn or a company website. So down there, you can see the statistics of what it's like. 5 to 10% of people get a job through the internet. 10 to 15% is through recruiters. They contact you either out of the blue or you may have sent something. And 75, 80% of jobs that anyone will ever land in corporate America, large corporations, small corporations, will be through their personal networking. Hence, an internet activity that you do, I purposely designed so you get very few points. And networking is, you get significantly more points, like I said, because 80% of the jobs are found through networking. All the others combined and there's 5 or 6 other major areas, internet, research, job board, you hear about it. All of those things add up to only about 20% of how someone gets a job in America. And the vast majority is through what you're doing now. You're interacting with people. So the rationale is to get out there and interact. So using this job scorecard as your roadmap and your guide, it's designed to literally force a person, and sometimes it's easy to do, sometimes it's challenging to do, to get out there and get away from the computer and start interacting with people. And I have found, so here's the job, go ahead, here's a job scorecard. So, you do it for a week, how many points, what's the activity, and then you have a daily goal, a weekly goal, and if you achieved it or not. Next. So here's some ways that you get 1 point. So these are many. You do an internet submitted, and like was talked about today, a lot of these organizations, they have massive amounts of applicants. The vast majority are not qualified. Vast majority, and the human will never see. It's done through, an algorithm bot that does it. So, and a lot of organizations, if you're actively involved with this, this. Now they have what's called Easy Apply. Like if you use LinkedIn, they have Easy Apply. Basically, you push like 4 or 5 buttons. Here's my resume, here's my ethnicity, et cetera, et cetera. So you can literally apply to dozens of jobs within a half hour using Easy Apply. The others take a little bit longer. So here's some of the points. You submit a regular interview resume. You add an additional point is if you had a standard cover letter. And some people, there's a fair amount of discussion still. And when I say still, it's kind of a biased assessment. The research and experience is the vast majority of organizations don't look at cover letters. If they do look at cover letters, they don't give it much thought or much reasoning if they're going to use it or not. And so, most organizations today don't require a cover letter, but some do. So if you write that. Another point for reviewing a company website. Then you get a third point, you review jobs on 3 internet. So if you just look at a job, that's like a third of a point. So once again, it's designed, just, scrolling through your internet isn't very worthwhile in terms of points and activities and getting you a job. So 2 points. One measure is a customized resume. Some people comment that it's very important. Others say it's less so. My belief and impression is, as best as you can, I would customize every resume. Now, when I say customize, it doesn't mean you write an entire new resume. What you do is you highlight certain areas, give them more prominence, so an algorithm or a recruiter would look at that. So it's adjustments, if they want some sort of activity that you have, but it's not current, like you did it 10 years ago, somewhere in your resume, you want to highlight that critical key, like maybe at the top, so it can easily be found. And then there's the customized T letter. You may or may not be familiar with this. A T cover letter is, on one side, you literally write the qualifications, the activities and stuff that the company is requiring of this position. Then on the right side of the T of a sheet of paper, you write your response of, they ask for 10 years experience and a bachelor's degree. So you highlight that. Here's my 10 years experience and here's my bachelor's degree. They say good interpersonal communications. And you'd say, here's how I demonstrate good interpersonal communications. So that's a customized T letter. Personally, I think they're very valuable. They take a lot of time. So you may want to judiciously decide where and how you want to use them. However, I believe if you're going to write a cover letter, the only worthwhile cover letter is a T cover letter. Then the folks will more likely read it, because you're really highlighting the sorts of things that they're highlighting. Like, and I would say, a T cover letter is 1 page. So you're gonna maybe write 5 or 6 things on there is all. It's not exhaustive, and you're highlighting the most important things that they're looking for. So I would invite you to strongly consider this as an option. Like I said, sometimes it's available to do it, sometimes it's not. On those easy apply, all you do is push your resume and that's it. So you wouldn't necessarily write one for that.
Glenn, before I jump on, I just thought I'd add a little comment here about the customized resume. The easiest way to probably do that is create a master resume, a resume that's done that has everything you've ever done since you graduated, college or whatever. And you put everything together. And when we talk about customizing resume, it's eliminating everything that they don't ask about in a job description. That way you don't have to sit there and think about, wait, I think I did that 15 years ago. You've already gotten written down, and it's easy to just go and delete things off of a Word document. So that may be a simple way to come up with a customized resume.
Absolutely. I have that. It's 7 pages long. And so when I customize a resume, or have in the past, I pulled poignant parts that the organization was looking for out of that 7 pages.
Right.
Good. Thanks for bringing that up. Next. Here's all the things for a 3-point. Complete an e-interview. And that was talked about today, where you're asked to respond either verbally, and I've done that before in the past, is you're literally looking at a screen, up pops a question, and you provide an audio, they can see you, and an audio of the response to that question. There's, and like was mentioned earlier, these sorts of things are now becoming a concern, and I'm not going to get into that. However, there's another way that's more common that still one needs to do. And that is, sometimes they have an e-interview, and basically they said, we looked at your resume, you're interested, please respond to these questions. Or it could be in the very application of the resume, or in the application, is that there'll be writing a question. Now, my field is leadership and organizational development. This type of e-interview, where on the interview process that you add with your resume, they'll ask 5 or 6 questions. In my experience, that's very common. So that's going to be based industry and profession based about whether they do that. Like I said, in my industry, it's real common and is expected. Yours may be the same. Also be prepared for that. So you want to give yourself 3 points for that, because that takes could take anywhere from 15 minutes to an hour to create that. And then make a general networking call. And once again, oftentimes my premise is making the call is absolutely critical. And there's something called call reluctance. It's sometimes all of us don't like to make a phone call. So you want to give yourself credit and a pat on the back for actually making the call, regardless of whether you talk to someone or not. And in this day and age, it's highly unlikely you're going to call and they'll pick up the phone and you're there. So what I suggest is make the call, even if it's a recording. Give yourself some credit, because you're extending yourself out to the public in an additional way. So this is important to me, because this is my professional assessment, and this includes myself along with you and everyone else. Now remember, I'm a psychologist. I believe at some point in time, everyone, and I mean everyone, who goes through a job search, at some point for a moment in time, they are clinically depressed. The vast majority of the time, you're just kind of depressed and woe is me, and I don't feel like doing things. And that's natural and normal. Everyone does that. And I believe sometimes, after you go weeks and lots of rejections, you don't hear anything, we become clinically depressed. And I'm not saying that's true. And I don't think you don't see a therapist, you don't take medication, you just get actively involved and out in the world, and that will help. So this is why it's important to network informally. And what it is you just have, you meet at Starbucks for a coffee, you go to lunch just to get out and interact with people. That's critically important at this point, even if it has nothing to do with your job search. Now, during the course of your conversation, you absolutely want to talk about your job search. The most important thing is you're out with another human being away from your home and having interaction. Thanks. Next. So 5 points. One is attend a formal networking. So you coming today, whether in person or Zoom, you're out attending an organized, like what you're doing now. That's a formal. So you get more points because you're out of the house. And then you email a general resume with or without a cover letter to the hiring manager or recruiter. So it's not some application that you just send out into the meta universe. You actually have the person's name and email address, and you just either it's a follow-up or initiation hello. And if you're not, I would encourage you to be actively and strongly involved in LinkedIn. And when you apply for a job on LinkedIn, they will give you who's the recruiter for that. Oftentimes the recruiter, most of the times it's like a second level connection, which means you still have the ability to send a note. So I would highly encourage you to consider that, because now you're actually talking to a real person about a real job, and it's not going through their recruiting website or anything like that. Then the next ones, you would conduct a telephone informational interview. This is on your LinkedIn, or just a friend that you know through your religious organization or where you used to work or something like that. Is you call them up, you contact them. So just making a phone call, you get 5 points. So the informational interview is done over the phone. So you talk to someone and say, you mind if we have a phone call for 10 minutes? I knew you used to work at Hewlett Packard. I'm going to want to be a technical manager there. Would you be willing to field some questions for me? Critically important, because now you're going to talk with a human being over the phone. So 5 points for that. So 7 points, you conduct an in-person informational interview. Now, the reality is a lot of people don't have time to go out to lunch or a coffee or, a soda. So sometimes in person is kind of challenging to even set up. But doing that is important. Next, if you actually call a hiring manager recruiter, whether you speak with them or not, you left a message. That's important, because now you're reaching out to a specific human being. And that you email a customized resume and a customized T-letter to the hiring manager recruiter. So that third one is going to take some time. And though you're not interacting personally in live, it's still critically important. And now you're going to, interacting one-to-one with a real human being. And it's not a general resume, it's specifically that position and a customized T-letter. All right, 10 points. Basically, it's a dossier or a brag binder. So literally, you create a binder. And in the old days, physically, I would give them to people when I did an interview. When I was in Dallas, I would make one, put it in a binder, and hand it to people at the beginning of the interview. Now, sometimes it may be associated with an interview, maybe not. However, I would consider you doing this. And once again, like Jeff said, you'll have files, in your Word document, and you can just cut and paste and pick and choose specific ones. But you're talking about the awards you won, special recognition, Employee of the Month. Like as an example, when I worked at Parkland, we created a dynamic leadership development program that won 5 ATD, associations of trainers and developers. That's like the gold standard of our organization, ATD. That leadership development program won 5 awards. So believe me, anytime I talk to, still today, anytime I talk to someone about what it is, I say, I was involved in award-winning leadership program. Hundreds and thousands of people make leadership development program, but not many of them are award-winning. So that's something that you would highlight. So it takes some time, but I tell you, in my experience, they're dynamite. I think I consider it gold. So I would invite you to consider this is a way to go. Maybe you don't do it with all. And when you're doing like an interview or something, you won't have the opportunity. You don't need to. So you only want to do this at a point in the interview process or the hiring recruiting process when you're getting ready for a interview, or perhaps you have some sort of conversation with a recruiter. And once again, I'm gonna use the example of LinkedIn. You know, you could just attach that and send it to them. So I would invite you to, this is, in my estimation, is very, very powerful. So once again, a telephone interview. In this day and age, absolutely almost everyone, I don't care what the job is, what organization, you're going to conduct a telephone interview. And it's almost always by the recruiter. And the reality of those is they're kind of knockouts. So here's a couple of things I want to say about the resume and how you show up in your to have an interview. So I've been in this field for 30 years and I know lots of recruiters and I've recruited. Here's the reality. I had a good friend in Dallas at the time. I worked at Parkland. She worked at a health, I can't remember the name, but it was another healthcare, HCA. And she was a recruiter for the technical. They're clinical, but they're not patient facing. They may be like a lab tech. That was the type of person she recruited for HCA. She says, I look at the resume, I look at the top half of it, I don't look at any of the rest of it because I've got hundreds. She would have 700, 800 applications. So how do you go through that? You know, it's just long and laborious, even if the algorithm does it. So then after that, you know, they're going to have 30 resumes that they look at. Then they're going to have about 15 phone calls, and they're like 15, 20 minutes now. Then you'll have a telephone or a Zoom interview after that. And the last is absolutely, you know, the mother lode is that you get 24 points for an in-person interview. Next. There's a job scorecard again. How much work do you do every day and how many points? For me, I made a goal. This was kind of arbitrary, but it had some rationale behind it for me. Is you want to earn 20 to 30 points every day. However, I had a friend who wanted to get 50 points a day because the type of job he wanted wasn't on the internet. You know, there wasn't any LinkedIn. So he had to do a lot of research, and he wanted to work for a bilingual, medium-sized company. So you have to decide. So what's the right number for you? Reasonable and challenging. If you can easily meet your target in a few hours, raise it. If you have a target that you never meet, that's destructive. You want to lower it. You can lower it in good faith. Maybe it's only 20, maybe it's 30, but you'll kind of come up with a number that. So the range, sometimes in a day, I did 3. Sometimes I did 70. At 70 was all networking. I didn't have an interview. I was just busy out all the time. So you want to earn between 25 and 30 points, 4 to 5 days. The 5th day, somewhere between 10 and 50 points. And I'll tell you why that 5th day is lower. I believe you only ought to spend 32 hours a week on your job hunt. As you know, searching for a job is a full-time job. And so you don't want to do 50, you don't want to do 60, you don't want to do 20, you don't want to do 10. You ought to spend somewhere, somehow, 6, 7, 8 hours a day looking for a job. Once again, with the scorecard, there's several significantly wide variety of things that you can do. And I highly recommend is that in that work week of Monday through Friday, I highly encourage you to spend 4 hours, a half a day. It can be broken up in 1 4-hour segments, 2 2-hour segments. However, it's critical from a psychological, emotional, and physical reason why you want to do this. This is it. The reality is, even though you are under significant amount of stress of being unemployed, there's people out in this world who are significantly have more problems and more issues than you have. And part of that going out is you are just serving others. Partly is you're going to easily recognize that, wow, my life's pretty good, even though I'm unemployed. And so giving to the community, and that can be any type of organization. You want to make it formal, attached to an organization, as opposed to just going out and mowing someone's lawn, though that's valuable. So if find nonprofit organizations who can use volunteers, they're all over the DFW area, and just give some time to give back to others, because it helps. It's good for your soul. It's good for your mind. Those people benefit. Next is, in that week, 4 hours a week, you want to give yourself a reward. You're playing, you're having fun. You're not on the job hunt. So when I was looking for a job, Monday through Thursday, 6, 8 hours a day, Friday, couple hours in the morning, and Friday afternoon was my reward time, my happy time. I love movies. I'd say about 80% of the time I would go see movies on Friday afternoon. So whatever is fun and exciting, relaxing for you, you want to do, it's special because you did a great job. You want to reward yourself. That's critically important, that you reward yourself. Rewards and boundaries. We talked about the rewards, we talked about the boundaries. Job hunting is tough, it's often lonely, long hours, and you have to maintain your psychological and your emotional reserve and resolve. You have to keep that, continue looking for a job, because in this day and age, the job hunting process, regardless of what you read in the newspaper, there are jobs all over, there are. It can take weeks and it can take months. As an example, what I do for a living, a normal unemployment time is 6 months. And when I was there in DFW and was unemployed for 3 times, the shortest time was 3 months, the longest time was 6 months. I know that, and that's why part of this was built. That's why you have to keep your emotional and your physical, mental state healthy enough to keep going through what I call that hard slog. So psychologically, the higher number is more important than the lower one. You want to set a limit on yourself. So one, you want to say, I've done all I need to do today, and I can stop. And you, in good faith, without guilt or stress, can stop job hunting for the day. So it's imperative that you set boundaries. Otherwise, you'll be constantly looking for a job 24/7, never having a beginning, never having an end, and you will wear yourself down physically, mentally, and emotional. And then your effectiveness in job hunting takes a steep nosedive. It just almost craters. So part of this process is that self-care of how you're able to take care of yourself through this job hunting process. That's why the job scorecard, because you can do something in the day and say, I've done it, I fulfilled that day. I want to get 20 points. Now I can move on, I can stop, I can go do other things, I can clean the house or whatever. Just kind of a wrap-up comment is that it's challenging, it's stressful. You want to take good care of yourself, And I found using this job scorecard was a good way for me to, one, get out there every day and do something, have some accomplishments and achievements. And two, it guided me to stop at some point in time. And one of the things that I held for myself and I would recommend for you is absolutely do not do any job hunting on Saturday and Sunday. You have to have the time to recover, recoup, be with your family, attend a religious organization, just having fun, having a beer with your buddies, something. So I would highly encourage absolutely no job hunting on Saturday and Sunday. And Friday or another day that works better for you, you only work a half a day and the rest of it spent playing as a reward to yourself. So in essence, that's it. I appreciate the opportunity. I wish you the best in landing your new great job. Thank you.
Glenn, thank you. If anybody has any questions, you're welcome to unmute your mic or ask and we'll questions. All right, hold on. We got a couple questions here.
Sure.
Dr. Earl, one of the things that I've been involved with this group and several other search groups in town. I participate in the pit crew doing practice interviews. My personal opinion is the pit crew or doing practice interviews is an extremely important tool because it's the one thing that can actually get you a job.
Absolutely.
So I might have missed it, but I didn't see practice interviewing in your list of scores. And I think it's so important because I have done some coaching in some of these groups. And the hardest thing I've always had is getting people to agree to do the first practice interview. Not only that, but getting them to do follow-up practice interviews, because it takes at least 3 and probably 5, because, what they'll tell you is, hey, I learned, you guys told me everything I need to do to fix my interview. Well, if you don't do it again, you don't know if you really fixed it. So practice interviewing is, in my opinion, a key, and would love to see it rewarded. The more you do, the more points you get, kind of situation.
Absolutely. And I agree with you. I appreciate you bringing it up. Jeff and I are going to change the scorecard. So it takes
You have to tell me where you want to assign those points at. It's sort of interesting. I was just thinking about this back in 2007, 2008, when you put this together, we didn't have the practice interview team because that only started like 6 or 7 years ago. So that's another whole area that we've never even investigated, but is a really good suggestion. So you're going to have to let me know where you want to assign those points at.
Just on a personal note, I have found that when I had practice interviews, the real interviews went significantly better. And I think it's a brilliant idea. And let me go back and do a little homework and revision. And I'm going to put the practice interview highlighted. I'm thinking, somewhere between 10 and 15 points. And I agree with you. I don't know how many you need to do. You need to do 1 and you need to do 2 and probably 3.
Right.
And yeah, I agree with you. I appreciate you pointing that out. And I'm going to make some adjustments and change it. Thank you.
And we will get this list out to everybody who's on the call today. So as long as I have your email address, we will give you a copy of this presentation, but you're going to have to wait now until we add this other thing. So we have another question here.
Yes.
Hello there. Just tacking on to your comment about actually getting you the job, I wanted to understand from you a little bit better about how to strategically set up informational interviews, or that interviewing time where you're collaborating with others, because what I've found, it's helpful for camaraderie to connect with other job seekers, but it may not necessarily lend to getting informational interviews and spending my time with companies or people that are influencers or hiring managers or know those individuals. So what's the difference in scale there in terms of time investment?
I appreciate that. I'm going to say this in a kind, loving way. So when I talk about informational interviews, for me, it's always with people in an organization that's already employed. So to me, an informational interview is someone who's employed, someone who's worked at the company, someone who now works at the company. And that is designed to just get a better awareness of that. And certainly I appreciate your feedback, and that's something I can refine and highlight a little bit better of what actually entails a informational interview. Once again, whether it's over the phone or in person, an informational interview is designed for a certain thing, which is to get literally more information about the job that you're seeking, or in general, or with a specific company. The people you interact and contact with have some connection to that organization. I used to work there. I work there now. So I'll refine and emphasize that more about what that entails and who it's designed. So just going out and talking with a buddy, there's points for that. However, that's not an informational interview. So I appreciate the feedback, and I'll refine that also. Thank you.
So, Dr. Earl, Mike Warner again. I have two other things that I've noticed in the process. One is you got to be careful about attending meetings like this one here, because I've been involved enough times to see the same faces showing up at multiple different meetings to the point where it kind of becomes a crutch. And it's good to get out of the house and socialize with people. But sometimes I fear, and this is based on having done some coaching and talking to people, that they're really not using the meetings to, they hear things, but then they don't implement, and they pretty much are attending the meetings just to get out of the house, which isn't bad. But I think when we're talking about rewarding points, you know, after a while, attending the meetings, I think loses its value.
I agree with you. Here's what I did for myself. I was involved with 3 professional groups. So I would encourage anyone to limit themselves about how many of these organizations, job networking groups, that you're actually a member of, and that you actually attend. So I always did this one here. Then there was one about that was specific to my industry and field. So those 2 I would attend on a regular basis. And once in a while, there would be another one I'd do, but that was kind of a one-off. So I was really a member of 2 networking groups. The general one, which you folks are involved with, which I think is critically important. I learned lots of things. Someone has nothing to do with my industry or field or profession. That's critically important. Then I would invite you to choose one that's specifically for your field. Like I knew there's one there was like on sales and marketing, and there are some others. So having 2 that you regularly attend, I think is very important. And I agree. You can attend these over and over and all week long, and that's all you do, and that's wonderful and good. However, it doesn't really help you if you're not doing anything based on your experience there. So certainly I can kind of refine that and say, in the point system, it would be attending, you know, a networking group. And here's the sorts of things that you need to do. So 1, just attend it. 2 is if you do these 3 or 4 things, that's an additional. So it gives what I would do, and I appreciate your feedback, would design in such a way that when they attend that networking meeting, they actually have to do things and accomplish something. So I'll figure that out, and I appreciate the feedback.
So I appreciate your presentation. I actually asked Jeff about, because I know the scorecard had helped me out in some cases, and I asked Jeff about it after our meeting last week. So it's great to see you here so quickly. And the other thing, you know, you use the sheet not just to give you information, it's your accountability partner to a large degree. Then that's the other thing I didn't hear talked about that I think next to practicing interviewing, I think the next most important thing is participating in an accountability group. I think that deserves extra points because I found those to be so valuable if they're run the right way. And Jeff knows that we used to have one with Walt Glass that worked, and we kept the number down to 7 or 8 people max, because
Right.
the whole purpose was to give everybody a chance to spend time confessing what they did or didn't do. And then the other people, asking, not pointing the finger, but asking the right kinds of questions to make them realize that they needed to either do more or change this habit, or that they were give them a pat on the back, that they were doing a great job. So I really love the accountability group as a tool in this whole process. And, you got to pick people who maybe aren't your friends, people who are a little bit upfront and terse, because that's what you need. You don't need more people. At home and at church, you got people patting you on the back, telling you everything's going to be okay. What you need in your accountability group is people that are going to kick you in the butt when you need it. So
Thank you. I appreciate that. And I can refine that. So my experience with accountability, the scorecard is actually, I think really good at self-accountability. And the way that I mostly work it for me in my professional life is I have accountability partner. So that's another way is, how do you hold, the accountability? So there's self-accountability scorecard. Then another way is with other people. One is have accountability partner, which is just you and another person. And then you have accountability group. And I will add this accountability into the scorecard. And it can be just a partner, and it can be a small group. And to me, a small group is, I would say it's, I'm just thinking in my head, and it's just my own thought, maybe, 5 people. You don't want 2 or 3, because then it doesn't work so well. Then if you have, more than 8, then it's like unwieldy and doesn't work well either. So, and to me, those are self-forming, self-designed, is that 4 or 5 people get together. And this is just my take for those who have a significant other. Absolutely never have your significant other as your accountability partner. It's a hard slog, and there's all sorts of relationship issues and money issues that come up. So please do not have your significant other as an accountability partner. Get someone else. So that's just my take on it. So I'll add that. I appreciate the feedback.
We have a whole presentation about accountability partners up on the Career USA YouTube channel. And I've lined up the speaker to come back and talk about that, but it won't be until probably September before he talks about those. But if you want more information on how to form an accountability group, please reach out to me. I've got all that information. I can get it to you. Any questions online? Anybody on Zoom have a question? You're welcome to unmute your mic. Walt, I see you've unmuted your mic.
Yeah, thanks very much for your thoughts and ideas, and for the analytical in us. I love spreadsheets and points and things like that. This can definitely help us measure productivity and success along the way, so that we can celebrate those. It's not just getting a job as the one final measurement. But a thought that I'm having is the value of the activities that you do. And so while there is value in doing an activity, if, like for an informational interview, you do not have an objective, you do not have like a requirement says, I'm not only want to learn about A, B, or C, I want to make 2 more connections. And so if you're reaching the value and the purpose and the objective of those activities, that's going to be worth points as well. Just talking to someone is one thing, but talking with the value. So if you attend a meeting like today, what did you learn from today? What was the value of attending today's meeting? What did you learn from it? What activity or action will you take as a result of this meeting today? And you can reward yourself for actually, it's not just participating that gets us points, it's the value of the participation.
I like that, because I absolutely believe showing up out in the world is critically important. Second is, I can make the adjustments that, okay, now that you're there, what are 2 or 3 things that you're going to do as a result of that? Like you said, like with this group, someone says, I'm looking for a contact an ABC company. Well, that's above and beyond just attending. Now you're talking with Floyd or Jane. They said, hey, I used to work there. Here's what I know about the company. So I like that an additional level of accountability, productivity, and value is that you have some type of goal or something you want to achieve at that activity, and that you go out and do that. Like, now that I have a phone number of the company, now I'm going to call them. So I like that. I can incorporate that. I appreciate the feedback.
Well, Glenn, thank you very much. Good to see you. I've
Thank
been
you.
following you on Facebook. I followed you through your great trek through all the national parks this
Thank you.
for the last year. And
I'm having fun. I'm getting ready for some more.
all right. Well, thank you very much for your time today.
Hey, thanks a lot. You take care. I appreciate being involved.
All right, thank you. All right,
Bye-bye.
for everybody else, just a few things. If you have not given us your 30-second introduction in the Zoom chat window or in the, let me know you're here. Give me your name, phone number, email address. We'll put all that information into the, I'll be able to count all that stuff. I'll get it all out into an email to everybody this afternoon. And also I will be sure to copy I'll send you the current version of the job search scorecard. It's a 3-page Word document. The last page has that document on it. I also will include, for those people that are Excel crazy, there was somebody who took this spreadsheet and, because they were an Excel guru, added 20 different things to it. I mean, it's like 20 pages and tabs and all sorts of things. So I'll send that with you. I'll send that also, if you'd like to be able to play with it and figure out what to do. So as long as I know you were part of the meeting, as long as I've got your email address, we will get those to you today. All right, let's see here. All right, Career DFW and Career USA, we're putting on training 4 days a week. Please join us next Tuesday for LinkedIn Tuesdays. Terry Sullivan will be with us to talk about how to create a LinkedIn brand. It tells you key contacts, who you are, what you do, and how you can help. The event will not be recorded, so if you do want to watch it, you do need to watch it live on Facebook or on the Zoom channel. Next Wednesday, practice interview. If you'd like to schedule a practice interview, please just reach out to Dallas Pit Crew. You can schedule your own free interview at dallaspitcrew.com. Send in your resume. It's really, if you haven't been part of one of them, it's really fascinating to watch the process. Next Wednesday, being the third Thursday of the month, we'll talk about resumes. Locke Alderson will be with us to talk about effective resumes. This session has been recorded. It will be on the Career DFW Facebook page and the Career USA YouTube channel. It'll take a couple hours for this to be uploaded to the YouTube channel. On the YouTube channel, click on playlist where you see that green arrow, and then down below, pick whichever list you want: effective resumes, interviewing, LinkedIn, or the North Dallas Plano Career Focus Group. Don't click on the video, but click at the where you see that red arrow where it says view full playlist, and up will come a list of all the different dates, topics, and titles that we've talked about. Just remember that most of our speakers start talking about 30 minutes into the video, because I do record the entire thing. If you'd like to join us for lunch today, please join us today at, let's make it 12 o'clock, not 12:30, 12 noon. Country Burger, 3115 West Parker. It's on the northwest corner of Parker and Independence. They've got burger, salad, chicken, a couple other things. So if you'd like to join us, please join us at noon today. By the way, if you're interested in that hamburger that you see on the screen, I did have them price it out. It was like $33, but they don't have the ham slices, so you have to bring your own ham. So I just thought I'd let you know that. Okay, so thank you for joining us today, everybody. Have a great weekend. Hopefully it's not too hot where you're going to be. I know it's going to be hot here in Dallas. So have a great weekend, and we'll see you all next week.